Good morning.
Good morning.
Can I ask you all to close your eyes for a moment? Imagine that you're in a hospital room. You look over and you see your mother, who's been having a very difficult battle with cancer, lying in the bed with her eyes closed. As you look at her, you begin to think about what happens next, not only for yourself, but for her. As you consider these things, you realize that the heartbeat monitor has stopped a while ago. Thousands of people die every day, and many of them never hear the gospel. Well, I'm here to implore you that you share the gospel because you're commanded to. You can open your eyes. Because you're commanded to, because people need Jesus for salvation, and because too many people die without hearing what he's done for them. Now, some people say that because God is sovereign, he doesn't need us to share the gospel to save people. While that is true, that doesn't mean that we don't have to share the gospel. In John 14:15, Jesus says, "If you love me, you'll keep my commands." And in Matthew 28:19 through 20, he commands us to do that very thing. Jesus says, "Go therefore and make disciples of all nations, baptizing them in the name of the Father and of the Son and of the Holy Spirit, teaching them all I have commanded to you." Now, some may also say that that has nothing to do with sharing the gospel, but I believe that Jesus was no dummy, and he knew that not everybody in all nations knew the gospel already, so that implies sharing the gospel with them. And not everybody has a road to Damascus moment like Paul did. Most of the time, the only way people hear the gospel is when it's shared with them by someone like you. And not only should you share the gospel because you're commanded to, but people need salvation, or Jesus for salvation. When we read about the fall in Genesis, mankind used to be close with God. We were buddies, we were pals. But now, after Adam and Eve ate the apple, God is here, and we're all the way over here. And no matter what we do, we can't, if we be good people, if we don't lie to our parents or whatever, nothing will ever bring us back to being with God over there. So God had to send his son to die on the cross and live a perfect life that we couldn't. And in John 14:6, Jesus said, "I am the way and the truth and the life. No one comes to the Father except for me." He is the only way that we can reach salvation and join with God in unity again. And you should share the gospel not only because it's necessary for salvation, but also because people need that, and some people never get it. So go back to that moment in the hospital before you realized that the heartbeat monitor had stopped. Your mother only has two options, either heaven or hell. And if she never hears the gospel and accepts it, she can never get to heaven. You may be the only person in her life who can tell her about the gospel, and you may be the only one who even knows about the gospel. You could make the difference that affects whether or not she gets to heaven or goes to hell. So go out and make disciples, and make sure people hear the gospel before it's too late.